interest in court, I'll try to like go systematically the way I feel it flows in my head. So first and first is that number one challenge we have is lack of knowledge. So most of the performers and most of the people we have in the entertainment and creative industry don't even know that they have these rights. And I'm not talking about just music. I'm not talking about just theater presentation. I'm talking about even dance performance, comedy performance, and all that. Everything that can fall under performance. Most of them are not even aware. So even if they have any situation or have any performance and someone infringed on their right, they don't even know that their rights have been infringed on. That's one. Two, when you're not made aware of the rights and you realize that someone has infringed on your rights, with how tiring the court system is in Nigeria and how I don't want to use the word unserious, but we can all agree that in Nigeria we tend to like spend a whole lot of time in court. So because of that, most people are not really that interested in going to court. So whenever they have these issues, they weigh how much they are losing and how much they are gaining. If they are not losing a whole lot of money, or maybe they're still gaining something, but they're not gaining everything completely, they decide to leave it and just move on and maybe be careful with the next with their next performance. Maybe if that infringement is as a mismanagement of contract or not going through that contract before reading it. Whilst we also have the people that would decide to try out of court settlement. So with out of court settlement can be able to stop the person from, if for example the infringement is broadcasting or adapting your work without permission, you can actually like get an injunction or stop the person and retrieve all your materials, and that will be it. So aside from the Nigerian court system and that, another issue we have is contract management. So when you come down to organizing shows and performances and all these things, most performances that we see don't have proper legal documentation behind them. So there's no proper contract. Even when you now say a contract, it's basically maybe just stating how much the performer is going to be paid and performer is supposed to show up. Just I think one of either the discussants or the someone mentioned it here, sure. And you notice that they just talk about how much they're going to be paid and how they're going to come at a particular time. There's no proper documentation. There's no proper, like the contract doesn't even go as far as saying who has the rights, whether the company or the production company or whoever is putting together that performance is a person that is going to retain the rights, or whether individual performers are going to retain their rights, whether anybody have the right to broadcast the performance. Like most of these things are not really like documented. That's another issue we have, because when you come to redress, when you want to go to court, you actually have to like prove, or you actually have to like bring something to court to say, oh, this is the reason, on these grounds I can say that my rights have been infringed on. Another issue I would say we'll have is lack of collective society, or rather lack of collective society management in Nigeria. We all know the issue we have with COSON and all that. So for example now, let's just say Whiskey wants to, I think someone used the example that Whiskey wants to perform Bob Marley's song. He's supposed to obtain license to do that. But then, because of the fact that we really don't have a working collective society in Nigeria, that's an issue. And let's now say, for example, the people that tend to like perform different people's song, doesn't mean they'll have to be going one by one to each person or each PRO to collect license. There's need for blanket license. There's need for, oh, this particular group is a performing group and they're going to use this series of songs within this period of time. So they have to collect licenses, or they have to pay this particular amount of money and they get a blanket license that can cover them for a full year. So these are some of the issues we have that still make it difficult for people to go to court. Because then when your rights are not really like well stated, and when trying to find the word, when the rights given to you by the constitution, rather the Copyright Act, is not well stated or well managed, it's very hard for you to actually stand up and say they've infringed on your right or they've not infringed on your right. And also lack of knowledge is one of the biggest issues we're having in Nigeria. So yeah, I think I'm done with my presentation.
Thank you, Miss. Did I get her? Amanda Uzuaga. You have to be pardoning me for the name.
Yeah, you already gave apology at the beginning. We
Yeah.
accept it.
Okay. Because we're all in the West, but we all have different accents. Okay. Thank you, Miss Amanda Uzuagba, for your presentation. Would move on to our third discussant, and his name is Mr. Isaiah Daniel Abanda Tezo. I hope I got that right. Mr. Abanda Tezo. Please, are you here? Yes. So Mr. Abanda would also take us through the fora for redress of the breach of performance rights, specifically from Cameroon. So yes, Mr. Abanda, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Winnie. I don't know if everybody can get me. If my network is clear. Hello? Hello, please. Can you get me?
Winnie, you're muted. I can see that you're speaking, Winnie, but you're muted.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Sorry about that. Yes, we can't hear you now.
Okay. Thank you. So, thank you for this opportunity. Like you said, Isaiah Daniel Abanda Tezo. I'm speaking from Cameroon, and I'm supposed to talk about the fora for the performer to redress breach of rights in Cameroon and the legal challenges facing performers' rights in Cameroon. So first of all, about the fora for redress, I would have to first of all talk about the generally in Cameroon. It's true we haven't had a general introduction on performers' rights in Cameroon, but we should understand that in Cameroon, the performers' rights is actually just like almost every other person's experience is neighboring rights, which is linked to copyrights. So the law which protects performers in Cameroon is the 2000 law on copyrights and neighboring rights. So the redress which I'll be talking about generally is guaranteed in this law, is actually inscribed in this law. So
I'm sorry, Mr. Daniel. Sorry, we can't see you.
Oh, sorry. I should turn on my camera. I'm sorry. Right here. So yes, can you see me now?
Yes, please, we can.
Okay. Yes, so like I was saying before, the rights which the performer actually has in Cameroon is inscribed in the copyright law and the copyright and neighboring rights law of 2000. And generally, if we have to look at the redress for breach of performance rights in Cameroon, the main system which is put in place is through court action, because a violation of a performance rights is in Cameroon is generally considered a criminal violation, and you have to go through the courts to redress that situation, because for criminal actions you cannot actually redress them through let's say arbitration or through the civil courts. So you have to refer yourself to the criminal courts in Cameroon. And we should also understand that there are three different courts in Cameroon. Well, general courts, because there are also specific courts. You have the magistrate court, generally the court of first instance, and then the high courts, the court of appeal, the appellate jurisdiction, which is the court of appeal, and the Supreme Court. So generally, where there's a breach of the rights of a performer in Cameroon, from the provisions of the law, the court of competent jurisdiction which you would have to go to is generally the high court, because the nature classification of the offense which is being committed, which is an offense of forgery as defined by the law. The offense is forgery. You have to go to the high court, and in the high court is because the sanction which will be meted on the accused person, if at the end is actually determined as guilty is such that the classification of the offense puts